Welcome to the Speak Pact podcast, where high-performing speakers and the producers who hire them merge to give you the insider secrets to the lucrative speaking industry. Antoniette Rose, your podcast host and celebrated speaker agent, unveils insider success strategies. Discover a nexus of thought leaders and bookers, maximizing your potential in each and every episode. Your ticket to ultimate speaking success begins right here. Catch the transformative insights waiting for you on the Speak Pact podcast, hosted by the industry powerhouse herself, Antoniette Rose.
Welcome back to Speak Pact. I'm Antoniette Rose, your host, and I am here with Dr. Derrick Noble today. Super excited to bring you the fine doctor, because he is going to really take us on a journey. It's been a bit of a long journey, but also a very prosperous and impactful one. Last year alone, he spoke to 300 different audiences. He's been on TEDx twice. He is a leadership expert, and he just brings a lot to the table. So hello, Derrick.
Hello, Antoniette. Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Oh, I'm really glad to have you here. And I
Thank you.
am excited about, first of all, talking about the early beginnings. So leadership, were you always about leadership, or did that evolve as time went on? And when did you know that you wanted to get your voice out there?
Oh, wow. Great question. Actually, I did not start in the subject of leadership. I actually started as a speech coach. And I still do speech coaching, but not as much as I do leadership coaching now. But interestingly enough, what happened is I started getting requests from different religious denominations to spend time with pastors to help them to become more effective preachers. And that's where it started. I have a seminary degree, so my master's degree is from a seminary. So that's kind of how I got into that world. So I started out by spending time with pastors, helping them to not only research and write sermons, but how to deliver them with some oomph, how to deliver them with some enthusiasm, and how to keep your parishioners from falling asleep on you. So that's kind of where that started. And then one time, one of the leaders of a major denomination was in the audience that day and said, you know what? I would like to have you come and speak to some of my denominational leaders just about some leadership issues, because they're having a hard time communicating with their employees. So do you think you'd be interested in doing that? So that was about 20 years ago, and I said yes to that. And apparently it went pretty well, because he started passing my name throughout the country, and I started getting calls from other leaders, and then it went from denominational leaders to nonprofit organizations, and then to banking organizations, and the rest, as they say, is history.
Did you ever have to institute an outreach protocol, or did it wind up becoming referrals, or from your last best talk came your next best talk? Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, yeah. Referrals. I sometimes get frustrated because I hear marketers and speakers say you have to have this daily routine where you go to LinkedIn and you look at your ideal avatar and you reach out to people. Antoniette, that never worked for me. In fact, it still does not work for me. I would say, in fact, we crunched the numbers not too long ago. 92% of my client base are people who have been referred to me or repeat business. So I have tried to do marketing in the past. Don't get me wrong. I'm not telling your audience not to do marketing. If marketing works for you, and LinkedIn ads and YouTube ads, if that works for you, by all means do it. But that has never worked for me. So what happens is I just try. In fact, I got this tip from Les Brown. I used to travel with Les years ago when I was a young up-and-comer. And Les told me the best way to market yourself, and I'm going to clean up his language a little bit. I don't use profanity, but Les said the best way to market yourself is to give a kick butt speech. And of course, he used another word other than butt. He said, but give a kick butt speech, and people will knock down your door asking you to do more of them. So I just did that. I worked really hard on making sure that my presentations were impactful. I worked really hard on making sure that they were interactive, that it wasn't just a talking head speaking to a group. And I worked, I practiced, I memorized. And so when I got up on stage, and please don't take this as bragging, but when I got on stage, I hit a home run. And every time I did that, people came to me after it was over and said, "Hey, do you think you could come and speak for my organization?" So that's the way I did it. I'm sure there are methods to make that a bit smoother, but I never knew what the methods were. So I just kind of jumped in and said, "Hey, if you want to hire me, I'm here," and it worked.
Well, obviously 300 engagements just last year, right?
Yes,
So let's talk
yes.
about this a little bit. I would love to dive
Okay,
into this because this is a really important topic.
sure.
There are a lot of traps out there with regards to marketing, which
Yes,
is different than outreach, right? And
yes.
so I think that it's really easy to get confused.
Hmm.
If you want to have consistent speaking engagements and you hadn't started 20 years ago and got the flow happening, right? There's some outreach that you're going to have to do. And
Right,
and it needs to be consistent. That's much different than buying ads or,
right,
all of the number of things out there that you can buy to quote unquote make it happen. And
right.
I really believe at the end of the day, the organizer buys you.
Yes,
Wonderful if it comes as a referral, because then you're that much more in the door. But as
yes,
long as they can have that connection with you and you can start building a little bit of a relationship, then yes, that snowball starts really packing on itself. And then one engagement leads to the next engagement leads to the next, and that
yes,
referral whole beautiful symphony start happening, right?
yes.
But it does take those first rotations. And a
Hmm.
lot of times that comes in consistent regular outreach. And I know that you were sharing with me off screen that in the
Hmm.
beginning you did a lot of talks for free, and that is basically
Yes,
your outreach. That was your outreach plan. There's different
it
kinds of
was.
outreach plans. I think that always needs to be an element of it. And no talk is free done right. Like there's ways that you can monetize any talk that
True,
benefits all.
true.
But at the same time, that was your marketing plan. You getting out there, knowing your stuff, delivering it in a way that really connected with your audiences. And
Yes,
so, yes, organically that moves into other audiences, right? So,
it
at
does.
what point did you say, hmm, maybe I should start charging for this? Like, tell us a little bit about that part of your journey.
I can definitely tell you, excuse me, that part of my journey. I decided to charge after about, how long was it? I was working for 2 years for one of the larger seminar companies. I won't call the name of the company, but the largest seminar company in the country. I was a trainer for them, and I was also the trainer of their trainers. They asked me to come in once per quarter to train their new trainers, and my topics were communications topics and leadership topics and customer service topics. So I'll tell you where I decided to branch out on my own. I got a glimpse of a contract. I know how much I was making as a contract trainer, and maybe there are some people in your audience who are contract trainers. And I would recommend to do that, by the way. It gave me great experience, great exposure. I went to Hawaii for the first time, so a lot of traveling. So it was really good for me to hone my message. But I got a glimpse one time of the contract. I wasn't supposed to see it. Maybe I shouldn't be telling this story, but I wasn't supposed to see it. But I saw the contract on the desk of the head of HR who had hired me to come in and teach customer service that day. And I saw how much the seminar company was making, and I saw how much I was making. I was making $250 for an entire day of training. Now that I guess that's good if you have nothing else going on and it helps you to get your feet wet. But $250 for an entire day of training. I saw the contract, and the company, the seminar company, was making 3,500. So I was getting
Hmm.
250. The seminar company was getting 3,500. And one of the things I also noticed was that these clients that they were sending me to were specifically asking for me by name. They would call the seminar company and say, we want to do another customer service training, but we don't want anybody but Derrick Noble. And sometimes the seminar company would say, well, Dr. Noble, well, I wasn't a doctor at that time. Derrick isn't available right now, but we can send somebody else. And the companies would say, well, no, we'll wait for Derrick. So the light bulb went off for me. Okay, these people really want to hear me. And the seminar company is just facilitating that. Now, God bless the seminar company, but the audiences wanted me, not necessarily the seminar company. So about 3 months after that, I just decided to reach out to an old friend of mine in Manhattan who was the president of a bank. And I just asked him, I said, hey, I'm trying to branch out on my own. Do you have any training needs coming up? And he said, Derrick, it's interesting that you asked me that. I would like to do some leadership training for some of my new VPs. Could you come in and do that? So I went in and did that. And I asked him, now I got this from Tony Robbins. I learned this from Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins said at a seminar one time that he always writes into his contract that part of this contract is you agree, if I do a good job for you, you agree to pass my name along to 3 of your colleagues in your industry. And I thought that was a brilliant idea. I had never thought about
Love
that.
it.
You know what, though? I was kind of worried. I wasn't sure if that would work. I thought some people would say, well, that's kind of presumptuous of you to kind of demand in your contract that we recommend you to other people. But you know what? Not one person said no to that. So when I spoke for my banker friend in Manhattan, he gave me 3 references. I called each one of them and I said, hey, your friend Jacob told me, blah, blah, blah. And each one of them hired me on the spot. So within a month, I had 3 more speaking engagements. And I learned with each contract to do that with each contract. I mean, you do the math. With each contract, you have 3 more references, and that's really how I built my business. So, but I recommend that people start off speaking for free, especially if you're brand new to the speaking profession. Speak at your local Kiwanis club. Speak for local organizations. It's not really about making money at the very beginning. It's about exposure, and more than exposure, for me, it's about honing your craft. You don't want to, I think what a lot of professional speakers do is that they put the cart before the horse. They try to get speaking engagements when, forgive my language, but they suck as a speaker. Uh, I know lots of speakers who come to me, and I'm a speech coach as well, so I'm very blunt with people. I'm loving and I'm kind, but I'm blunt. I say to people if they come to me and say, "How can I start making money as a speaker?" I listen to them speak and I say, "I don't think you're ready yet. I think you need to hone your craft so you can be better, so that when you do speak, you hit a home run and people have no problem coming to you asking you to do further engagements." So I hope I answered.
So good. Okay. Dr. Derrick, right? You just said so. Dr. Noble, how do you like to be called?
Derek is fine. Derek is fine.
You said a whole bunch of goodness
Okay.
there. So first and
Sure.
foremost, yes, I am 100% on board with you with regards to speak, 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 whether it's for free locally or for free for
Yes.
associations or for
Yes.
pennies, right, from these seminar ripoffers. um,
Yeah.
Go ahead and get out there because every engagement you are collecting
Yes.
data, not only on your audience, but on yourself.
Yes.
And you're really understanding what people are leaning into. You're understanding what you really do enjoy communicating. And that's just all forming and formulating,
Yes.
right? You don't want to be practicing on Nike or
Right.
AT&T.
Right.
So practice there. Like start local, go to
Sure.
associations, maybe some of those seminar companies. Do that for until you really feel like your message is
Yes.
down, and then get really serious about your brand.
Yes.
You are your brand. Dr. Noble is his
Yes.
brand, right? And it needs to be
Yes.
clear because confused minds don't buy.
True.
So for your for these organizations and your and the relationships you made along the way, they needed to be able to clearly say, "Oh, you need that, then you need Dr.
Yes.
Noble because he's the one."
Absolutely.
Right? It needed to be a clear through line.
Absolutely. It took me a while to
I
get
love that.
there.
Go
Oh,
ahead.
no, I was just going to say it took me a while to get there when you're talking about clarity. That is really, and this may be surprising with me having done this for 20 plus years, but I really only got that clarity about my brand and my message over the past 5 years. And that came as a result of working with my business coach. I spread his name wherever I go, David Newman. David Newman really helped me to focus. I heard David speak. I'm a member of NSA, Southern California chapter.
Yes.
Southern California.
Did you just go to the conference
No, I
recently?
didn't because actually the week of the conference, I was in the state of Denver, but I was doing training for government employees in 3 different cities.
Uh,
So I was in the state, but I couldn't make it to the Thrive conference. So, but
gotcha.
I heard Dave Newman speak at an NSA SoCal event, and he was talking about clarity, and it like hit me across my head, Antonia. I was like, I really am not that clear as to whom I speak. From at that point, I was just whoever calls me. That's where I go, and I can write a message and I can adapt a message. Blah blah blah. David Newman helped me to get clear on my brand, and my brand is specifically I work with new leaders to help them to get acclimated, to help them to start off on the right foot so that they can create some early wins. If you had asked me
Hmm.
5 years ago, Antonia, if you had asked me 5 years ago, to whom do you speak or who is your audience, I would have said anybody who needs me. And a lot of, and I know you know that that's not, it's kind of like trying to pour a glass of water with a fire hose. But
Yes.
it had been working for me, but not as well as when I got that laser focus. And David really helped me with that. And my business, right around the pandemic time, when so many people in our industry were losing engagements and they were driving for Uber or finding two or three other jobs, my business grew, and we crunched the numbers 7 times. My bottom line grew over the
Wow.
pandemic. So the pandemic was the best thing that happened to my business. But part of it
Wow.
was because of that laser focus. So I do find myself speaking to seasoned leaders often, but more often than not, about 80% of what I do now is specifically for new leaders, people who've been in their leadership position maybe a year or less to help them get started the right way. In fact, that's what my book is all about. So yeah, that's what I do.
Okay, so you had the one piece down, you had the visibility piece
Yes.
down, and
Yes.
then and the positioning to a certain degree. So
To a
you
degree.
need branding, positioning, visibility. Like that's what speakers need. But once you added in that third element, the branding piece,
Yes.
that's when things really took off for you. Great.
Yes.
So when you first ventured out and started doing your own, did you start off with the 3,500 or did you start off somewhere else?
I started off at 1,000 even. And you know what? I don't even know how I got to that figure. I think I just kind of asked myself, what do I think I'm worth? Or what do I think my program is worth? And it wasn't that I thought my speaking and my program weren't worthy of more. Honestly, I was kind of afraid of making too high of a quote. I was always afraid if I say 5,000, they're going to say, well, that's too rich for my blood and I'm not going to make any money. So why don't I just start off making as little as I can? And you know what? What I also did, I said $1,000 and I'll take care of all of my expenses. You don't have to take care of travel.
Wow.
You don't have to take care of hotel. Yeah. I'm on the totally different scale. But when I first started out, my maximum was $1,000, and I said, wherever you are, I'll come to you. So as you can imagine, out of that $1,000 I got paid, I ended up having to deduct my travel expenses and my hotel and all. So I ended up not making a lot of money, but I was still getting my name out there. So who helped me change that was Patricia Fripp. I had an opportunity to do a 1 hour session with Patricia Fripp, and she asked me a question. She asked me, how much do you charge? And I said, well, about $1,000. She said, then you must not be very good. And that hurt me. I'm like, whoa, really? I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, only $1,000. Is that what? Here's the question. It stung, but it helped me. She said, is that all you think of yourself, Derrick? And that hit me hard like a ton of bricks. So I just kind of, in that 1 hour with her, I asked her, what do you think I should charge? She said, well, tell me what you do in a typical program. I told her what I did in the typical program. She said, you are a fool if you don't charge anything more. If you charge any less than $5,000, you're an idiot. Basically, is what she said. So it took me a while, honestly, to get up the confidence to increase my bottom line ask. But one of the things that Patricia helped me with is she said, if you quote your price and the person says that's too expensive, then you're looking for the wrong customers. If you have the right customers, you will never hear your fee is too expensive. I didn't believe that, but I tried it and it worked.
Okay, I just thank you for your generosity and everything that you're sharing, because these are things that a lot of
Sure.
emerging speakers are just kind of feeling their way around the dark, and you're being so incredibly
Yes.
generous. So I want to talk about that a little bit. I agree with
Sure.
Patricia on many levels, and I'll add to it just a bit
Sure.
in that you're essentially a corporate trainer in a lot of ways.
Yes.
And the corporate the person tasked with finding the right trainer for whatever they're looking to achieve is given a budget, right? And
Yes.
their job relies on getting the best possible trainer for that budget. So Patricia was exactly right. You come in at $1,000, the next guy comes in at $5,000, the next guy comes at $10,000, right?
Yes.
You're off the table because there must be something wrong. If you're
Yes.
probably the best one, right? But there must be something wrong, and they don't have time to figure it out, and they're certainly not going to risk their job on trying to figure it out. They're
No,
going
they
to put the
won't.
they're going to put the five
Yeah.
thousand dollar guy on the back burner. They're going to go to the
Yes.
$10,000 guy. Try to
Yes.
get them down to their budget, or get them within their budget somehow, even if they got to negotiate in introductions, book signings,
Yes.
all the things. Um, and if they can get that person, they're a superstar, because they got, for their
Right.
$5,000 budget, they got like, that's what they're looking at. And we all know
Yes.
there's so much more to it than that. But in their mind, they've got a job they're that they're tasked with, and their job relies
Yes.
on doing the best within that budget. So
Absolutely.
I hear this from so many speakers, Dr. Noble, that I don't want to charge too high because I might price myself out. You're always negotiable, and you let them know that,
Yes.
hey, my base is 10,000, 15,000, whatever it might be. However, I believe in your organization. I want to get my foot in the door. Let me know what your budget is, and let's talk. Let's see what we can do.
Yes. I wish, Antoniette, that last paragraph that you just spoke, I wish I had had that information 20 years ago, because I would have been retired by now. No, 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 I
I hope maybe
wish.
God didn't let it happen, because then you'd be retired.
Absolutely, absolutely. All things in time, all things work together for good. Definitely. I wish I had had that language years ago. And when I speak to young speakers, or not necessarily young in age, but people who are new to speaking, I say things like that. Your fee is negotiable. Don't be afraid when you speak your fee, because they can hear your fear. So if you say, well, about $2,000, they can tell you're unsure,
Yes. Yeah.
and that's going to ruin everything for you. So I tell people who are new to speaking, know your fee and boldly say it. However, add to that, this is negotiable, and here are some things we can do. If my fee is higher than what you would like to pay for, could I possibly do a book signing? Could I possibly do the other things to add to it? Do you know of any other organizations in the area that might need a speaker during the time I'm there? Oh, I found that to be very helpful as well. I forget who I learned that from, but I learned let's say, for instance, I'm going to speak in Denver, Colorado. Once that contract is signed, I asked that person who hired me, do you know of any other organizations? Do you have any colleagues around the area or anywhere in Colorado who might need something while I'm there? And I learned to just kind of stack things that way. So if you don't mind my being transparent, My most recent engagement a couple of weeks ago was in the state of Colorado, and it was for one city government. I asked that person once we signed the contract, do you have any other HR directors in your personal pool, any friends of yours who are HR directors for city governments throughout the state of Colorado who might also need some training? Guess what, Antoniette? I ended up getting 3 extra engagements that week. So
Woo!
I was just supposed to be, exactly, I was just supposed to be there one day on a Monday. So I was there on a Monday for this particular city in Colorado, and then 2 days later I was at another one, and then the next day, and then the next day. So what was going to be a one-day event turned into a 4-day event and 4 separate paychecks, and I went home the following week. So
Fabulous.
yeah, don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to negotiate. And one of the things that I strongly recommend you negotiate is, do you know any other colleagues who might be interested in having me do something similar for them?
Fabulous tip. If you don't ask, you don't get, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah,
Fabulous.
I got that one from David too. That came from David Newman as well.
David
Yeah,
Newman, rock on,
yeah.
David Newman.
He's a rock star.
All right. I know by this time our Speak Pact audience is going to want to know, how do we find Dr. Derrick Noble? What are some of the best ways to reach out to you, and how do you serve them?
Oh, well, best ways to reach out to me, LinkedIn. I'm Dr. Derrick Noble on LinkedIn. I'm Dr. Derrick Noble on YouTube. In fact, there are many videos. I have done several video vignettes that have lots of viewers on YouTube. Also on YouTube, you will find my TEDx talks. You'll find them on the TEDx website as well. So I'm Dr. Derrick Noble across all my social media platforms. So it's YouTube, LinkedIn, and my website is DerrickLewisNoble.com. And that's DerrickLewisNoble.com. So my speaker highlight reel is on my YouTube channel, and it's on my website. Oh, and it's also on my LinkedIn as well. So those are the best ways to reach out to me.
Fabulous. And Derek with 2 R's. I'm glad you spelled that out.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, Derrick with
Okay.
2 R's. So, yeah.
All right. Well, oh my goodness. What would you, doctor, what is one thing that if you could go back 20 years in time and tell your younger Derek self, what would that one key piece of information be?
Be able to explain what you do in one simple sentence, 20 words or less. If you cannot give a clear explanation of what it is you do and whom you serve in one simple sentence, then you're going to have trouble as a speaker, because it's like shooting an arrow and then drawing the target after it lands.
Oh,
It's
good, good, good.
backwards. So my piece of advice that I wish I had had years ago is get very clear about whom you serve and be able to share. Sometimes people call it the elevator pitch, but I don't really like to use the phrase because I think it's overused. Elevator pitch. I think elevator pitches are too long. An elevator pitch is typically 30 seconds. You shouldn't have to take 30 seconds to explain to people what you do. And if it takes longer than 30 seconds, then you're not clear enough.
Yes. That goes straight back to that branding piece, huh, that we talked
Yes,
about.
absolutely.
Do you have any tricks, or we're in a world of AI now, right? There's really no
Okay.
excuse, but how did you finally synthesize it down that that clear?
I hired a coach. I hired a marketing coach. Marketing, admittedly, is not my strong point. I am a communicator and a former professor, and I teach English, but marketing is not my strong point. I know what I do, but I wasn't always able to articulate it. So I spent about 2 hours with him, and it was costly, but it was worth it. I spent about 2 hours with him, and he helped me to narrow it down to that one simple sentence. And this is who you serve, and this is why they need you. Now, that second part was very important. The first part I knew. I knew I needed to get very clear on the audience I serve.
Who you serve?
What
Hmm.
exactly? What I wasn't clear about was, why do they need you? And I didn't think about that until he asked me that. He said, okay, well, there's Brene Brown, there's Les Brown, there's Tony Robbins, why do they need you? You're just another speaker. And I looked at the NSA website. There are thousands of speakers on it. Why you? What's so special about you? And he stumped me with that. I'm like, oh, you know what? That's a good question. What is so special about me? So he helped me to not only articulate who I serve, but he helped me articulate why they need me. And that was a game changer. Yeah.
So good. Okay. Lots of diamonds in here. As we close,
Sure.
you know that this is Speak Pact, and this is your and my, Dr. Noble's, pact to make a pact with our Speak Pact audience on
Yes.
getting your voice out there in the biggest way possible. For
Yes.
some, that might be a book. For some, that might be speaking. Hopefully it's speaking. If you're on this show, you're on that track, right? For some, it might be another path, but what is one challenge you would give to the Speak Pact audience to begin really creating that bigger impact in their lives?
Write and record yourself speaking every day.
Ooh.
Even if it's on your telephone. You don't have to have a fancy home office or anything. Just on your phone every day. Just hit record and give your best 5 minutes every day. Just pick a topic every day. Today, I want to talk about the biggest mistake I ever made in life and how you can avoid it, and then hit record. And because the more you speak, the better you speak. The more you speak, the more confident you become. So stop waiting for people to hire you before you speak. Do it every day. And I do mean every day. Now, if you want to take weekends off, by all means, take weekends off. But I strongly recommend every day, record yourself for at least 5 minutes, giving your best talk on any particular subject. Great way to practice.
Okay. That's amazing. I love that because it's so simple. Any of us can do it, right?
Yes,
Number one.
absolutely.
Number two, you could feed two birds with one handful of food. I don't like the kill two birds. One.
I hear you. I love birds too.
My husband created this beautiful bird sanctuary outside of our kitchen window, thinking I'd do
Yes.
dishes more often. That didn't work, but he enjoys it.
That is so funny. I love it. Yeah.
But another thing that could happen with that, right, which that could also help you overcome the anxiety of speaking, is go live. Go live.
Yes.
Ask yourself a question. Just ask yourself a question. Go in and answer the question for 5 minutes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that as well. I love that. I would recommend, if they're going to do both of them, this is just my personal recommendation. If you're going to do both of them, I would do the recording by yourself for about a week or two and get comfortable with it, and then do something live. Because I know a lot of people who have speaker anxiety. If you go live and you're anxious, it's not only may it be a disaster for you, but it might scare you away from doing it in the future, which is not what you want. So get a little comfortable with it. Then by all means, challenge yourself and go live. Yeah, I love that advice.
Yeah, you're right. And also tech, don't allow tech to be a reason why you don't do this for 5 minutes. There's no excuse, right?
No excuse at all. No excuse at all. Yeah.
All right. Such an insightful interview. Thank you so much.
I hope so.
For being here with us, Doctor.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I hope we can do this again. I am truly honored. I love your work and your broadcast. So thank you for having me on. I really mean that.
It's been such a pleasure. You stick with me, Doctor. And right
Sure.
now, we will ask the Speak Pact audience, hey, if you found value in this episode, which how could you have not, right? Post it forward, share it, make sure that other people get this information as well. And that comes from you. Those are the flowers that you give Dr. Noble and myself. So that's what we ask of you. Thank you for being with us. And
Thank you.
We'll see you next time. Ciao, ciao for now.
Thank you for listening to the Speak Pact podcast. To become a recommended speaker of Antoniette's WPC speaker agency, or you are a host or planner looking for a dynamic expert in optimized performance, Antoniette would like to personally meet with you. Secure a time with her at speakerbooker.com. Again, that is speakerbooker.com. derrickbooker.com. It all begins with a vision, a voice, and a pact to impact. Join the Speak Pact movement by joining our new private Facebook group at the link in our show notes. Find us on nearly every social media platform at One Antoniette. That's number 1, ANTONIETTE, or simply hashtag SpeakPact.